Is it time for Trump to be let out of jail? Now that is a social media jail, but jail nonetheless. Hello, my name is Nissy Tee and welcome to Watchman News. Breaking the breaking news. A man that is considered one of the United Kingdom's national treasures has had his kingdom turned upside down after 20 allegations of bullying and sexual misconduct rose to the surface recently. Social media went into complete uproar after it was recently revealed that the 45-year-old actor Noel Clarke was being accused of bullying, sexual harassment and even groping women between the years of 2004 and 2019. Known best for his roles in Kidulthood, Sky TV show Bulletproof alongside longtime friend Ashley Walters, and Netflix series Top Boy, Noel Clarke has since had his BAFTA revoked and his recent contributions to cinema stripped following the accusations. In an investigation conducted by The Guardian, it is said that in the 20 women that they spoke to, all knew Clarke on a professional capacity and all accused him of various forms of sexual harassment, from unwanted touching or groping, sexually inappropriate behavior and comments on set, professional misconduct, taking and sharing sexually explicit pictures and videos without consent, and of course, bullying. Now, while The Guardian is by no means the police authorities, it has been recently revealed that all information has been passed on to the police and is now being investigated formally. Clarke did make a statement which read, "In a 20-year career, I have put inclusivity and diversity at the forefront of my work and never had a complaint made against me. If anyone who has worked with me has ever felt uncomfortable or disrespected, I sincerely apologize. I vehemently deny any sexual misconduct or wrongdoing and intend to defend myself against these false allegations." A statement that may be just a little too late, as it seems that he has already been tried and been pronounced guilty before any formal investigation has happened, of course, in the court of public opinion. Now, this is where I'd like to start breaking things down a little. According to statistics, over the past 5 years, cases reported to police and initially recorded as rape have risen sharply. However, the actual proportion making it to court, i.e. prosecutions, in that time has more than halved. In the year to end of March 2020, over 58,000 cases of rape were recorded by police forces in England and Wales. These led to just 2,102 prosecutions, compared with 3,043 in the previous 12 months. In the year to March 2020, just 1.4% of rape cases recorded by police resulted in a suspect being charged or receiving a summons. This, of course, being for a number of reasons, one of which being the fear of intrusion into the alleged victim's life, for example, by going through their phone in order to gather evidence for the case. Now, of course, in the case of Clarke, there were no specific mentions of rape. However, I'm simply using it as a way to break this down and point out some facts. One might say that things like the Me Too movement, for example, that was started in 2017 following the sexual allegations made against Hollywood star Harvey Weinstein, people, especially women, have found it slightly easier to share their stories and demand justice for it. However, and this is my only issue, when it comes to allegations of rape or sexual misconduct, it really is both a sensitive, of course, and difficult thing to look at, because it really is a case often of he said, she said, with evidence often being rare or scarce. Now, in the case of Clarke, my biggest issue here is this. Before any formal investigation has been conducted by the police, the media has basically called him guilty. Now, there were two tweets that I saw that speaks to some of the thoughts that were going through my mind at the time when trying to weigh up all the different areas of this case. The first one read, "I don't think it's right that someone should be accused and tried by the press and media. Crimes are investigated by police authorities and a case is built by the prosecution. The accused has a right to defend defend themselves without a hate mob already against them. The second one also read, "This is a clout-chasing, ridiculous way of doing things. A proper investigation should always come first, because now he's been publicly humiliated. So if these allegations turn out to be baseless, his image is irreversibly tarnished." Now again, let's look at this in context. When we have reporters and journalists, their job is to investigate a story, right? They are meant to consider sources, pulling together the facts, but most importantly, they are supposed to be unbiased or give what some might call an objective view, right? But in this case, and in many cases that we see today, the news has become more of an opinion piece. Now, if that's what the intentions have become, then fine, let's just call it that. But let's not call it the news then, because no one has formally been charged with anything just yet. Now that's my thinking on the one hand, but there's also a lot to consider on the other. There is not one, not two, not even three people speaking out against Clarke. We're talking about 20 women that we know of who are all basically saying the same thing. As it said, there is no smoke without fire. And I really don't see why 20 different women would all lie about one man without real concern or there being some real issues. Then there's the accusations from even other people that have worked with Clarke. People like Adam Deacon, who also accused Clarke of ruining his career. The two were once friends and starred together in kidulthood. But Deacon was later taken to court by Clarke and slapped with a restraining order and a £500 fine. Deacon has for years been speaking out about Clarke ruining his career and being a bully, but no one seemed to listen to him. After this was all revealed, Deacon put up a post on Instagram that read, "Karma, no need for revenge. Just sit back and wait. Those who hurt you eventually screw up themselves, and if you are lucky, God will let you watch." Then there's a video of Clarke that has recently resurfaced online of him making what can only be considered as inappropriate jokes, even in front of an audience. Now, is that a revelation of what they were? Just jokes? Or does that speak to the nature of somebody who just disrespected people's boundaries and got away with it? Either way, Clarke, who even I applauded for quite literally rising from the ashes as he went from living on a council estate in West London to the world stage, he may never recover from this. And my main concern is this: if, and that is a big if these accusations end up being baseless and this is all just some witch hunt or conspiracy theory, then his career has already been tarnished, because once again, he has already been tried and executed in a court that seems to mean more than a real court these days. And that is, of course, the court of public opinion. And in my personal opinion, that is a dangerous place for us all to be in. Facebook, still the world's leading social media platform with over 2.8 billion users. A platform that has since grown so big that it now has powers to ban people's presence on it. Now, if you remember, just a few months ago, I was talking to you all about social media platforms and the powers that they hold. During the height of the pandemic, it was revealed that Facebook were essentially banning accounts and blocking what they deemed to be misinformation regarding COVID-19 and vaccines. So much so that people were even arrested if they posted anything that was considered to incite protests or the breaking of rules by specific countries. Now, if you remember, I actually shared a story with you about a pregnant woman in Australia who was arrested in her home in front of her small children after posting a picture on Facebook sharing information about a possible protest against lockdown. Now, the protest hadn't even happened yet, but her posting it was all that was needed in order for her to be arrested. And this is when I started to ask the question, where exactly are we going in the West? Are we not becoming more and more like communist China, a country that has banned Facebook completely, and people, including billionaires like Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, can just disappear when they speak out against their repressive government? A country where people face possible imprisonment imprisonment when they speak up against their government or the systems that are working, or could end up in camps that currently hold over 1 million people. And though I have to say allegedly, we have seen numerous pieces of information and evidence of these camps where people that may not necessarily align with the beliefs of those of the Chinese government are sent to either be forcibly sterilized or essentially brainwashed. Well, once again, I come back to that very question, as we are on the cusp of a decision being made regarding Trump and his access to social media sites. In January of this year, Trump was indefinitely banned from Facebook and Instagram after the very much illegal attack on the Capitol by Trump supporters on the 6th of January. The argument that was being made was that Trump had incited the riots on the building, with his rhetoric, especially on social media, being one of the main reasons that added fuel to an ever-growing fire which led to the riots. Now, amongst the chaos of that day, it cannot be forgotten that there were also 5 fatalities: a police officer that was beaten to death, a rioter was shot, and 3 others who died during the rampage. As a result, Facebook was the first major social media platform to suspend Trump indefinitely, and for the most part, the decision was met with praise by critics who had felt that Facebook had let Trump dodge its normal rules and policies for far too long. Twitter was yet another platform that decided to suspend Trump's account for the very same reasons. And while many have welcomed Trump's absence on these very platforms, with people often calling him a troll, there have been some who have stated that the decision is and was censorship, saying that it has set a dangerous precedent for how leaders across the world are able to communicate online. And this is where I then ask you the question. As you know, I'm always here to ask the questions that many people are perhaps unwilling to ask. If social media platforms, a space where people are supposed to have freedom, of course, where everyone screams freedom of speech, to share their opinions or their thoughts, no matter how much the majority may disagree with it, does this not send out a message that big tech like Facebook or Twitter can effectively shape the narrative however and with whomever they want? Because isn't that what we're ultimately saying? That if we don't like what someone is saying, we can just delete them from the social media world, a world that has undeniably become an extension of our everyday lives. And yet perhaps there's nothing to argue. And this is where my thinking flipped between. Technically, these platforms belong to and are the invention of a man. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, is the co-founder and serving chairman, chief executive officer, and controlling shareholder of Facebook. And if he doesn't like something or someone on his platform that he believes is inciting hate or becoming a danger to the public, he has every right to say that they have to go. That's his right to choose, right? Well, why not let me know your thoughts below? As always, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Let me know, should Trump be given another chance to come back on social media? Or is it time for the likes of Zuckerberg to stop leaving room for this man who continues to allegedly break the Facebook rules? Let me know your thoughts, and of course, leave a comment below. And with that, I'd like to thank you once again for joining me on Watchman News. As I always say every single week, this is never a monologue. This is always a conversation. So please do make sure you leave a comment below, whether you agree or disagree with some of my thoughts. And of course, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share, and hit that bell button so you're notified every single time we post a brand new video. Take care. I'll see you soon.